From the middle of March until the beginning of July, Richard Seabrook works every day from dawn to dusk. First, there is lambing at Ickworth Park in Suffolk, with his own flock which he's built up from nothing over a working lifetime. Once that's done, he goes off with a shearing gang, which in late spring and early summer works its way across East Anglia. With him in the gang this year were his friends and disciples, Ivan Beavis and Richard Evans, and his children, Susan and Paul. Now, in July, they had visited 100 farms, sheared 20,000 sheep, and made a gross total between them of £9,000. It's their biggest cash earning of the year, but not nearly such a windfall as it sounds. Like other self-employed workers these days, they've absorbed increased costs, particularly for transport, without putting up their charge. And the campaign was not as profitable as in earlier years.
Then we had odd things happen. We had Richie Evans, one of the mainstays of the side, who broke his wrist when we were sort of fooling about one night. We sleep rough some nights, and this particular time we were sleeping in the barn at Royston, and we'd had a couple of pints, and we others got in the ditch, and he spotted us. We thought we were hiding from him, and he crept up and jumped in on us, and of course landed on his wrist on a concrete pipe. So, but he still managed to shear a few sheep after he'd done that. That's surprising what a bit of determination will do if you're a sheep shearer. And now, of course, poor old Ives crocked up this last week or so. I think perhaps that might be a after effects of all the blooming strain, because there's no end of strain on anybody organising the shearing of about 20,000 sheep.
Ivan Beavis, in his first year as organiser of the gang, took a rosier view, which he expressed the day he came back from his sickbed.
I thought this year went pretty well, really, after the bad start with the weather and that, and I was pleased anyway. We charge somewhere in the region of 45 pence plus a sheep, and we don't do any over 50p unless we go to town and do the whole job, but that still seems a lot to charge to shear a sheep to me. You know, that's a lot of money, and if you can do sort of in the region of 200 a day, you know, that's good money. That's still good money to earn.
In these early days of July, Richard Seabrook revived his contacts at farms where he does a few days or a few hours' work in a year. He's made his way as a freelance worker by seldom turning down a job within range.
Hello, Ben. Ready, are you?
We did a few earlier on.
Oh, yeah. The ministry man is here. Spencer, he loves the sheep job, don't you, Spencer?
Oh, I have it.
Yeah, you're Jenny missing when we clip, though,
Oh,
aren't you?
I do. I just come for the beer, really.
Yeah, I know you look the beer. Yeah. You under full control, look.
You easy there,
Right, shepherd's hold on this one, Spencer.
Right, now.
That's the plan. Got the system working in there, haven't we? As long as we are on overtime, that's what you like, huh?
Well, actually.
I'm always out there and another couple of quid if I can get a chance. Every day of the year, really, I've got to keep using my time to the full. I'm the most expensive bit of machinery I possess, so I've got to make full use of myself all the time. And I would never turn a job like this down. Although, Spencer, you ain't got too many teeth left, have you?
Ain't got any.
Every sheep in the country is supposed to be dipped against sheep scab between about I think it's the 3rd of July and the end of August. And the ministry man comes along to check that they're putting the dip properly, and they're supposed to be in there for 1 minute, and they're all supposed to go under. The heads are supposed to be ducked. I heard of a man who dipped last year, and he thought they'd got to be held under for at least 1 minute, and it was said that he lost 17 before he started to realise that that wasn't the rule.
Yep. Hey, comes round that way.
Richard now had a few days to catch up with jobs of his own. The firewood business, which used to be a winter stopgap, had expanded to take up some part of his time in every season, and while he'd been away shearing, the grass and the weeds had grown. In July, Richard returned to training the village bell ringers, a craft he himself learned in keen company more than 30 years ago.
We used to practice all 4 nights a week. There was 5 of us, very dedicated, and we used to have a lot of fun at it. And you daren't stop away from a practice. The little fellow who was in charge, he just lived for his bell ring, and he wasn't a particularly good bell ringer, but he was very loyal to this particular steeple. In me courting days, I used to always come and do me bell ringing practicing here, and then we used to have a practice night at Cavendish, and I used to pick me future wife up there, and the bell captain always used to, "You can get in the back, I always sit in the front along of he used to say, and so my wife just had to keep in the back and keep in the background until the bell ringing was over, and that was almost sort of deciding between the bell ringing or whether I was going to take a wife or not, I should think, at one stage, but of course that sort of passed over all right. But really, there's all sorts of funny tales hang to bell ring, and they said there was a peal rung in this steeple once when a man lost his trousers, but he was so dedicated to ringing the peal that he finished the peal with his trousers round his ankle. We do aim now, these people who do keep the thing going in the village do try and ring for as many services as possible, and this is the most important aspect of it, to keep the church alive through the sound of the bells.
We don't really know yet.
Yeah, but I mean, you can have the truck if you want it.
This event today is for the church and for the institute and community centre combined, so it's a proper village combined effort. The whole thing's ever so important if this sort of rural life is going to be maintained, that the farms have got rid of so much labour and so many people have gone and taken jobs in the towns, and people are mobile with cars now and they move away for their entertainment. The village used to be thronged with people when I was a kid. There used to be 100 of us out of just Hartest and Box that go to Hartest Parish School, and now they have to go around with a bus and collect them from all over the place to get a school full of kids. There's a bit of a fight to maintain this sort of community life and keep people together. Otherwise, there's just going to be sort of a patch of green like there is in some villages and a few houses dotted round and really no life about the place at all. Come along, folks, bowling in the rain. 10p, only 10p, ladies. Hello, Mrs. Pettit.
Who's going to hold me rolling?
I'd love to. Fairly powerful. Well, it's raining hard, notice it under here.
Oh, Richard.
Get ready to chuck them back, I can keep the score.
Now, who's next? 310.
2 rents. You can get 2 rent prices, okay? Go and put your hand in and get 2 sweeties out.
Go on, show them how it's done.
No, sorry, dear. Noughts and fives.
1. That's all that is. There ain't a mark there, but that's a 1. Don't let me out, umbrella. You'd have made a lot better job of it.
Disgraced myself completely. Hard luck.
Did you get it in the cup?
Hard luck.
I can't stand here and do that.
Go on, have a go.
That's right.
Hard luck.
6 balls for 10p. Ever so cheap. Ain't moved up with inflation at all. We call it the pig bowling, but it's been bowling for a tenner for a long while now. There used to be a chap who used to come round and reckon to win nearly every village baked pig. He was a real dab hand at this bowling, and the worst thing could happen is if he came early on and got a tremendous score before we'd taken any money, he'd just kill the job off before you started. And people would say, oh, so-and-so's been and got a top score, what's the point in me having a go? 41's a top score and you've got to try and beat it.
Oh, which is the quickest way?
The bloke used to boast about winning about 20 pigs round fights and making a profit out of it, which really wasn't the object of the exercise. That's to get as much money for charity as possible through the people competing for it. That's a 10. Here, Moss, come on up.
Come on up. Right. Now, come on. Now.
In the 3rd week of July, Richard gathered his flock at Ickworth Park.
Stand there, stand. Hip, 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 hip.
Of the 1,300 lambs born in spring, 500 of the biggest and best were now to be separated out and taken to the lamb sale at Bury St Edmunds the next day. The July sale of lambs is by far the biggest transaction Richard ever makes. The financial success or failure of a year's work is to a large extent determined by this one day.
But it was important to us that we have a fair sort of sale. Of course, you always have to sort of bring your old bank overdraft somewhere into line at least once a year, and they don't take too much notice if you just keep putting a dribble in every now and again just to stay the right side of the wind. If you put a a fair old chunk in every now and again, well then they do take notice of you and they tend more to be sympathetic with you. If you have a hard old winter and you've got some tidy old feed bills, so this sale tomorrow is important to us. We're letting the smaller lambs run straight on. These we shall keep on and feed during the autumn time and hoping to fatten. And the stronger lambs we're taking out, which are going away to the store sale. I'm taking 500 and I hope to come on with 17,000 quid for them after auctioneer's stoppages. 10 years ago, that would have seemed tremendous. It would have been frightening to me, but now it's just got so it's peanuts.
Richard Seabrook regards the July lamb sale as his annual holiday, enlivened rather than overcast by having so much at stake.
Is it going to be too dry for a good sale or what?
In the wet spring, there had been a forecast of low prices. Now it had been dry for weeks, but farmers here professed to divine in the gentle easterly breeze a searing wind which would burn off pasture and make sheep keeping ruinous.
Just show them how to have a lick, look.
51 in the first 2 pens and the rest are 50s. Aspect, Freddie, you said it for me. All right, you give 18 for me and I'm going right into retirement.
Sheep are sold by the penful on the price struck for a single sheep. To reach the total of £17,000 which he hoped for, Richard would have to get an average price of £35 at each pen.
I will sell them at 34.40. At 34.40, quick and they go then. At 34.40, they go then. At 34.40, Childs, 1 or 2.
All I wanted a bit of peace and quietness. I've been off the mothers for 10 days, and they were dipped last Friday, and I've been wound regularly, and I've been needled against everything under the sun.
Right, gentlemen, I'll go on giving you option 2 pens as they come up. They're all as they run. Put them in 6, 5, 33, 33, 20, 40, 60, 33, 60, 80, 33, 80, 33, 80, 34 pa, 34 pa, at 34 pa, at 34 pa, 20, 34, 20, 34, 20, at 34, 20, at 34, 20, at 34, 20, I shall sell them then, at 34, 20, bidding right away, at 34, 20, stably, 2 pens, stably.
What sort of land they come on?
Parking off all old parkland. Yeah, come in from under a lot of trees.
Yeah.
He ain't the most powerful land.
At 32 pounds, I shall sell them on the 10. 32 20, 32 40, 32 60, 32 80, 33 pounds, 33 20, 33 40, 33 60, 33 60, 33 60, 33 60. Sell them then at 33 60. Table it, 2.
I told you lambs too, ain't they? Yeah. What do you say, Morris? Yeah?
Good luck in it, don't
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to say. Ain't all that sharp, are they?
33 40, 33 40, 33 60, 33 60, 33 60, 33 60, at 33 60. Option to go again at 33 60. Bishop, 2 pins, thank you. All I can do, Richard.
Ah, I'm sorry, but we'll be here another year.
You'll come again, right.
Good help from a friend. Who was the latest one? Oh, I know who was going to match you up with, that girl at you didn't come.
One-eyed shepherdess, aren't I? One-eyed shepherdess.
No, this one was right good looking, what I bet you strong.
This bloke's speciality is creeping up on people and jumping in ditches after them, is that right?
Oh yeah, let's have a look. Have you still got any evidence of the wound? Let's have a look at it. Oh well, the people down the gardens reckon you'll probably be crippled for life. Yeah. Arthritis will set in, they say.
Yeah.
And you'll be an old man before you're 40.
Have you sold your lamb?
Yeah,
Did they sell all right?
Just, well, some people reckon they were cheap and some people reckon that was a good price, but averaged about 33, 50, something like that. Oh, everybody reckon they're a bit easier than last year's, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, there was little lambs that we Pratt has little lambs there last year, age 32.
Oh, well, I should be all right. We shall live to tell the tale for another year at least. Oh, I'm quite happy about it. We were hoping for 17,000 quid. We shall make just over the 16. So we shall live to tell the tale, all right.
That evening, they got in the last of the hay from the fields round Richard's home, where the stock is in the care of his daughter, Susan. He himself had spent few daylight hours at home for 4 months now. In March and April, he'd been lambing with his own flock at Ickworth Park, 13 miles away. From May to early July, he'd been on tour with the shearing gang. And in the past few weeks, he'd been catching up with odd contract jobs all over the place. He found himself reflecting, not for the first time, upon the dominance of his work.
Sometimes I'll get reminded that you can become very self-centered and think, well, because you're slogging away trying to build your sheep business and that this is the right thing to do, you tend to think that your wife and your kids have got to row in behind you all the time, and that I spend very little time at home with the wife, and when I do get home, I just expect a bit of grub, and I'm soon off to sleep. If we sit down to have a chat, she'll say, are you listening to me? And what did you say? And all that sort of thing. And that sort of company I fully appreciate and always very desirable night after night. And so, apart from that, I've done all the sort of things so far anybody in the sheep world could ever wish to do. There's no end of young fellas who start off looking after sheep who envy the things that have been put before me, that I've been ever so fortunate the way things have fell into line. So really, I've done everything anybody wanted to do sheep-wise, but whether that's been a life of total sheep or not, I suppose it has, really.
In the elation of his second year as a self-employed worker, Ivan Beavis felt no such misgivings.
Goody! Here!
The 10 ewes he had bought with money left to his old employer had produced 14 lambs in the spring, most of which had by now been sold, and the money spent on more ewes for breeding. What's more, he'd found a field where he was allowed to keep them rent-free. Through the late summer and early autumn, he kept going with a succession of short-term jobs, harvesting, then in October, tractor work. By now, he was well established in the district as a freelance worker.
I used to work on a farm for 17 years, and there wasn't a day went by when I didn't think about going self-employed. Then I'd think of the other things, and I thought, no, I'll start as I am and be sort of sure of a certain wage each week. I've got my independence now, and that's what I like about it. And I also do my own bookwork now. I'm registered with the VAT man, and I do it all myself now, all my VAT, everything. So I just hope the next few years the work keep coming along how it is now.
Now they had a whole wood to thin out, a bountiful source for the firewood business, which is their mainstay through the winter.
We had firewood off this estate last winter time, but in fact we started in this wood early in August. We cut down all the dead stuff and anything that the agent could see wasn't any good for timber. I think I paid about 20 quid for it or something, a meagre sum. But for anybody to employ a gang of chaps, this wouldn't be on, because we never in fact count our time as long as the firewood keeps jollying along all through the season. That I shouldn't think it'd work out £1 an hour if you were to count all this burning and messing about after it. But a most satisfying sort of job. We're rather pleased with the sort of result of the bit that we have finished over here, how that the trees stand out nice and clear and look as though they've got every chance of going on to make good timber. The first day we came in here, because we're not professional woodcutters, and I've started off, and thank God he'd got his old pot hat on, that they cut one tree down and it brought a damn great arm down off another one and slapped him right on the shoulder. You know, it could have been a nasty old job, and that just a fair old warning to you that you can't be too careful on these sort of jobs. I've had a few near-uns in my time. The silliest thing I ever did was got up a tree on a ladder and sort of cut the branch off that the ladder was on, if ever you can imagine. I think I fell 35 foot. I believe there's still a mark in the ground where I landed. We're not going to be full-time woodmen. I don't want to be a woodman for the rest of my life, but this still fits in with the old sheep job jolly well.